Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest. First, as always, we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, We Coach, and the global community of women in high school sports. If you're not a part of these two great organizations, you really need to check them out. So that's the global community of women in high school sports and We Coach. So before we hear from our guest, let's hear a quick word from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. We use surveys for just about everything at my school. And the information that came back is almost always positive, but the surveys also connect you with that squeaky wheel student athlete or squeaky wheel parent that sometimes they're going to share a small issue that you can address and keep it from turning into a big issue because you didn't know about it because you hadn't done a survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes or your parents, you're really missing out. Talk to the pros at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demonstration and see their tables and their boards in action. They not only generate income for your department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Let them help you create that ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing recently acquired Ticket Spigot, and together they're going to provide an even stronger and more comprehensive digital ticketing and event management solution for you. But for right now, go to sidelineinteractive.com, go to hometownticketing.com and check out how they can help you set up and sell your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come to your games and collect your revenue. At every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. They'll also show you how to set up and sell tickets for things like school dances, school plays and concerts, even graduation. You'll find it all at hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out how they can help you celebrate your entire community by showcasing your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards for all your teams, for all the events, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. They're on a mission. They want to help bring your school's legacy to life. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an athletic director do your job better. Snap Store allows you to order custom spirit gear. Snap Manage will help you design an entire website for your athletic department. Snap Connect is their multilingual family engagement platform. And of course, Snap Raise is their fundraising platform. We used it. Our parents loved it. Our coaches loved it. It works. Snap Raise has helped schools just like yours raise over $700 million. They even have a program where you can get your money before you actually do your fundraiser. Does anybody else offer that? Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite. That's snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to huddle.com and find out why 200,000 teams across the country and across the world use Huddle to help their coaches and their athletes perform better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school is a Huddle school. And our coaches just love the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle has the tools to help your teams, your coaches, and your athletes play at their highest level. Go to huddle.com and you're going to find a professional grade solution to the challenges that you face with your athletic programs. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to gipper.com and see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. Today, it's all about marketing your program, branding your program, and Gipper can show you how to do that in seconds. You can do it on any device and you don't need any design experience. That's gipper.com. Start creating custom content for your school's social media channel. And we want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in forms and registration, but they are so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility. They've got reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for you as an athletic director, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. It's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake and get started with Final Forms. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying right here in the great state of Florida, and we're going to be visiting with Dustin Kupcik. Dustin is a certified athletic administrator, and he's the athletic director at Springstead High School in Spring Hill, Florida. I'm going to let him tell all of you where that is. Dustin's also a member of our FIAAA Board. He's a district director. We'll talk about that some. But Dustin Kupcik, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Hey, Jay, I really appreciate you having me on. Really excited when I got the email, got the invite. It's a great program, and I've listened to a handful of episodes myself. So like I said, once I got the invite, I was anxiously awaiting for today's conversation.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time to share. For our listeners, we're recording this episode on January 9th, so it's going to be pretty timely when you hear it. And again, it's brand new year, 2023, so let's go and jump right in. Dustin, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us a little bit of that bio, where you were born, where you grew up and went to school. Maybe take us up to the college years, and then we'll take a pause and then hear more about your career. But what's the Dustin Kupcik origin story?
Well, I was born in Largo, stayed there for a short time, and then moved up to Spring Hill and went to all my schooling in Hernando County. Ended up at Central High School. I was a Bear back then, which is actually a rival school of ours. Where I'm at now at Springstead. That'll come into play later with more of my professional story. But yeah, I played baseball and football there for 4 years and enjoyed my time as a Central Bear. And I had originally got accepted to Florida right off the bat. And I thought, man, I got to get the heck out of here and go to, I want to go. I've always dreamed of going to Tallahassee, going to Florida State. Been a Knoll since I popped out, and John Wilkinson was my coach at the time. And he kind of talked me into staying around. He's like, you do a really good job coaching. So I actually stayed and I got my AAA at Pasco Hernando State College and coached, got some experience, saved some money. And then I moved up and finished my degree up in Tallahassee and lived there for about 2.5 years, and then moved back down. So started my teaching career. My coaching career actually started when I was still in high school. I actually coached spring of my senior year. So yeah, my coaching career is a little bit longer than my teaching career.
Wow. And again, for our listeners, Dustin is from, I don't know what you describe that, just, southeast or southwest, south central Florida area. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
kind of, maybe, and I'm probably butchering this, probably more of a farm and agricultural area, but I think probably quintessential Florida small town.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's grown a little bit. I mean, we're about to get a crumble, and we just got a PDQ, so it's pretty big time, you know. But no, it's like a small town. I wouldn't quite say it's there's some rural spots. Don't get me wrong, but it's more of a suburb feel, honestly, for a good chunk of the town. At least where Springstead's at, in the town of Spring Hill, it's more of a suburb. Like I said, there's definitely some more rural areas around, some real beautiful areas around like that. But yeah, where Springstead's at, definitely more of a suburb feel, I'd say.
Talk a little bit before we jump into your career. Talk a little bit about, you spent your whole life in Florida. Talk about growing up in that, being a Central Bear. What were some of the things that stick out for you back in those days?
Oh man, being a football guy, playing football pretty much my whole life that I could remember. Maybe I was 6, 7, 8 years old. Football Friday nights were a big deal. I was nothing to write home about. I was your average high school football player, good enough to be on the team, good enough to play a little bit here and there, and but still, I still remember. And we had some solid teams, nothing spectacular. We didn't make the playoffs in my time there on the varsity level, but I just remember the camaraderie. I just remember my coaches. I'm still very close to both of them, actually, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. And I have this crazy group chat going with 5 other of my friends, and 4 of those 5 kids I played football with, and we spend so much time with each other, whether it's going out to dinner or with our families, or we went to a Rays game. We split a nice a private booth, all of us, and or so just the stupid ridiculousness in our chat. Just those relationships that you build and still have, and those people that I'm closest with, honestly, those are a lot of them are the kids I played football with. That's really what I remember most. Of course, the parties, and we had some good times, and um, just kind of living it up, that stereotypical Friday Night Lights type of thing. And I was very, very blessed to have some good teammates, and very blessed to have some good coaches, and both of them have had an impact on me. So that's probably what I remember most.
No, I can relate 100%. I've got, 5 friends from high school that we were longtime friends, even going back to junior high, that we played, football, basketball, and a couple on the track team too. But one of them, I mean, probably at least once, and sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, we'll send a text about something we saw in Sports Center or a song we
Yeah,
heard or something. So again,
yeah.
those relationships that come out of the sporting experience, just so great. Thanks for sharing that. Let's go and talk about that coaching career. You went up to Tallahassee, you were a Knoll, came back and got into coaching. Talk a little bit about those early years and how that led to your becoming an athletic director.
So I'm not going to lie to you. This is kind of a long story, okay? Because this is I'm 36 years old, but I've been coaching for 19 years. Um, I my senior year of football, I dislocated my elbow the week before the first game. I was slotted to start. We were running kind of a fling T double wing style offense. I was going to be one of the starting wings. I had kind of really worked my butt off to get to that spot, and I dislocated my elbow. It was a major injury, catastrophic injury. They thought my season was over. I ended up missing, I think, about 6 or 7 weeks. I rehabbed my butt off and got back on the field. But nevertheless, though, during that 6 to 7 weeks, I had to coach up a sophomore into my position. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, and there's no way in heck I could be a pediatrician. That's what I had in my mind. Anyways, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought I did a good job. Coach Wilkinson, who was my coach at the time, thought I did a tremendous job as well. and he kind of talked me into hanging around and staying. And like I said, I was actually the running backs coach my senior year in the spring. And I learned a lot under him. Todd Wilson and Cliff Lowry were there as well, two other head coaches in this state at some time. And as you know, John Wilkinson is a Hall of Famer. And, that just kind of sparked it. And I worked at Central while I finished my AA for about 2 years, I believe. And then when I went up to Tallahassee, I thought I wanted to be a college football coach. I was like, hey, I really like this thing. I think I want to take it to the next level and try it at the college level. So I got on as a student assistant at Florida State, and I worked under John Lilly as a tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator. And actually also the GA I worked with was Chuck Canner, who is now the director of player personnel there now. So it's great to see Chuck doing well. It's great to see Chuck back in Tallahassee. But anyways, that was something that I was really, really grateful for, that opportunity. But I learned very quickly that the college world was not for me. I have so much respect for those people. That's pretty much their life, and 24/7. And that when I went out to Tallahassee, I actually went up with who's my wife now, Jess, and I just never saw her. The months I worked for Florida State for about 4 or 5 months, and I never saw her, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work, and it was starting to affect my schooling as well, and it wasn't for me. But nevertheless, I really, really was thankful for that opportunity at that time, because had I waited for that opportunity after I graduated, I don't think I would be where I am today, and I don't think I would have had the success that I have today had I kind of gone, if I had waited to go that route. So I was really thankful, and obviously got to meet some really, really cool people with Coach Lilly and Chuck Canner there. And that was great. And then I hopped on at Florida High and worked with some more tremendous people. As you know, being a Tallahassee guy, Mike Hickman, Old Man Hickman, and Jared Hickman are two of the best in the state. And I had the pleasure of working with them and under them. And I learned a lot about football, and I learned a lot about how to run a successful first-class athletic program. And, I was just blown away by my experience there. I was there for about 2.5 years while I finished my degree. And I still talk to those guys today. Like, I literally spoke to Old Man Hickman probably about 3 weeks ago about the FIAAA All-Star game. So those are relationships I still have. I go see those guys. I actually sat down with them for about 4 hours last spring to learn about some of the wrinkles they've added and stuff. And so, yeah, it just kind of kept snowballing from there. And at the time, I loved Tallahassee. My wife loved Tallahassee. I would have loved to have stayed, to be quite honest with you. But at that time, when I came out, I graduated in 2008. I also got married right after I graduated, and I needed to start paying bills. So I needed a teaching job, And at that time, I had a lot of coaching offers. I had an offer to stay at Florida High. I had an offer to go with Coach Wilkinson at Cocoa High School. And unfortunately, everyone was in a hiring freeze, and no one was hiring. I had a lot of coaching offers, and like, hey, we might be able to get you, but I can't guarantee it. I don't know when they're going to open it, if they're going to open it, etc., what the allocations are going to look like. So again, I kind of got a little nervous, had to pay bills. And there was an opportunity at my alma mater at Central High School. And I ended up jumping over there, and they hired me sight on scene. I had no idea what I was doing as a teacher. I knew what I was doing as a coach, but I wasn't sure what I was doing as a teacher. I actually went to school for sports management because that's what I was told was best to take if I wanted to be in the college world, So those AD seeds were already planted, and I didn't even know it, And so I worked for Central for a couple of years. And in the middle of the second season, October it was actually, I told you it's a long story. I'm sorry, but it all makes sense. Yeah, I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason, and you're gonna see why I believe that between the elbow and this next thing I'm about to tell you. So October of the second year, I basically get told, hey, Cup, you're the low man on the totem pole. Even though you're doing a great job, you're the low man on the totem pole. If you still want a paycheck, you either need to go to an elementary school or to Springstead. And my time working at Florida High as a sub, I learned very quickly I'm not an elementary school guy. So I said, I guess I'm going to Springstead. And you got to understand that when I was in school, this is before Nature Coast really popped up. Springstead and Central was a big deal. It was a big rivalry. I hated Springstead. I wanted nothing to do with Springstead. I'll withhold some things that I probably said and did about Springstead, but I was not happy. I was like, well, I'm doing this because I got to pay the bills. And I actually stayed coaching at Central that year, that fall, and taught at Springstead. So I'd leave. They made me stay to the very last minute of my contracted hours, and I'd drive over to Central and coach at Central. It was very awkward. And then in the spring, I jumped on here. I jumped on at Springstead. I was a running backs coach at first, and then became an all-line coach. And I was kind of Coach Veneda's number 2 guy, you know. And I was up top as the PA goes off in the background. And I was up top, kind of his eyes and ears, and really helped game plan and help call plays in that time. And then when Coach Veneta resigned after a handful of years there, Coach Garofano took over, and I became the full-time OC. And I was OCing, had a really successful year. The first year, we're really blessed with some tremendous, talented athletes. I went to the Elite Eight, played Armwood, got our butts whipped, but it was a great ride, great experience. And nevertheless, after a couple of years, 2-3 years of being the OC, Bob Levia, who's the longtime AD here, who I replaced, who's a Hall of Famer, he kind of approached me after the season, and he said he was going to be retiring, and he thought real highly of me, and he thought I'd do a great job, and this, that, and the other. And I immediately was kind of, obviously I was honored and humbled, but at the same time I was really overwhelmed, and I was like, no, I've never even thought about doing this. Like, why would I do this? This is not for me. That's too much. I just want to coach football, whatever, And some things transpired towards the end of that season, both personally and professionally. And I decided to step away from football, and I just needed a break. We just had our second child, and it was just too much. It was too much for me. It was too much on my wife. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to step away from football. And that time away from everything, it wasn't that long, but, a month or two, time away from everything, I kind of had a time to reassess, reevaluate, kind of look at some things. And I went back to Bob and I said, is that offer still on the table? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I had the privilege and I was very, very lucky to work under him for about 3 or 4 months before he retired, to kind of, he kind of showed me some of the ropes and whatnot. And then I took over. April. So actually this April will be my start of my 8th year as the AD at Springstead High School. And so, yeah, I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason. I was obviously, as an athlete, I was heartbroken that I dislocated my elbow. As a Central Bear, I was heartbroken. I was getting tossed over to the rivals, but it all has been a blessing in disguise. And I am super, super happy and thrilled to be where I'm at, both in my career, but also just here at Springstead. I really, really love my family here. I love my coaches, my admin, and the student athletes that we have. We have great parents for the most part. And no, it all has worked out.
Well, again, I just love hearing the story. So, no worries. Thanks for sharing. I got one more question for you. How was that? What was going through your mind that very first time you went to Central as a Springstead coach, and now you're coaching against your old school? What was going through your head?
It was, I wanted to win really, really bad because, one, I personally, I didn't feel like they did enough to keep me. And I'd also, the one part I left out, I was trying to shorten it up a little bit, but the head job opened up and I applied. Now, I was extremely young. I was like 22, 23. I don't think I would have hired a 23-year-old head football coach either, but I wanted that job. I felt like I deserved that job, and I didn't get it. So I kind of felt slighted by Central. That was my home. I really cared for them and about them. And when I kind of got thrown to by the wayside, I really wanted to win bad, really bad. And I shared that with the kids too. I said, hey man, we got to take care of business. So and we did. We have most of the time there too. I think we've only lost once to Central since I've been at Springstead. So yeah.
I love it. I always love that, chip on your shoulder story. Great
Absolutely.
stuff. For our listeners, our guest today is Dustin Kupcik, certified athletic administrator, and he's the athletic director at Springstead High School in Spring Hill, Florida. We're going to take our first break, but we'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. You heard me say this before. We've got a Sideline Interactive score table in our gym, and it's just fantastic. We use it for games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and the customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, or you can email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. Create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come to your games and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to Hometown Ticketing and they'll show you how to set up and sell tickets for things like your school dances, school plays and concerts, even graduation. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing.
Jake, we actually use Hometown, and I gotta say, I've been really, really impressed with them. The flexibility, we use it for camps, we use it for dances, obviously all of our games, the season passes, and the customer service has really been great. It was a little hectic during COVID because I think they were getting slammed, and then once that died down, the customer service has been second to none. I really, really would recommend Hometown. I really, really like it.
Boy, thanks for that shout out. I know they appreciate it. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your hometown service manager? Who helps you out?
See, this is not fair because it used to be Marley. Marley was our girl, and then they just changed it like a couple weeks ago, and the name was escaping me now. I feel bad. She's awesome too, but Marley was really, really great for our whole county, really our whole conference. She got our whole conference on board during COVID, and that really, really helped us during that time to be able just to function. We were all on the same page, and the message was consistent across all schools and everything. So it was great. She was great. I'm sorry, whoever our customer service rep is now, but I'll get to know her soon, I'm sure.
But that's great from Hometown. I mean, they made a change and they got in touch with you. Okay, so at least
yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So
no, I have her cell number right now.
All right. Well, hey, let's go and jump back in. For our listeners, our guest today is Dustin Kupcik, Coach Kup. He's a certified athletic administrator, and he's the athletic director at Springstead High School in Spring Hill, Florida. Dustin, we always like to let our guests have a chance to give a shout out to some of the mentors that they've had. As you know, none of us get to where we're at on our own. You mentioned a couple, but it's okay to mention them again. Who are some of the people that have helped you along the way?
There's a lot, man. I feel like I could have a whole podcast just on the people that have helped me get to where I am today and continue to help me and support me. But, first and foremost, my mom and dad. I feel like I'm really, really blessed to have an amazing set of parents. And they have always been super supportive, always encouraging, always there for me, good, bad, or indifferent. My dad was my first coach. I should have seen the coachings earlier. Like I should have realized that's what I wanted to do earlier. I remember helping my dad coach my sisters, even like in softball and stuff like that, and soccer, and I was like his little assistant. And I don't know why I didn't realize I loved coaching so much until much later in life. But nevertheless, my mom and dad are tremendous. They still, tremendously supportive right now. They actually own a printing and marketing business. So as an AD, you always need signs, you always need banners, and they're the business cards, pamphlets, that type of stuff, and they're always there to support and help. And like I said, I can't tell you enough how blessed I am to have the parents I have and the family that I have. Just always there for me, no matter what, no matter when. As far as professionally goes, Steve Crognally was my high school football coach my freshman and sophomore year. He ended up stepping down and pursuing administration. Well, then he was my admin. And then when I ended up at Springstead, he was my admin at Springstead. And then now he's the county athletic director. So he's kind of always been around and always been a leader, always been a mentor, and just a voice of reason. I've always liked the way he handled discipline and just the way he carried himself, just the professional that he is. And then moving forward, the guy that took over for him was John Wilkinson. And as you know, he's like I mentioned, a Hall of Famer. His first head job was at Central High School, believe it or not. And before he won all those state titles. But he was a tremendous coach, really, really a tremendous coach. And I learned a lot from him, about coaching, about discipline, about structure, but also just football in general, obviously about life. And then his staff was unbelievable. I mean, he had Lance Jenkins, Cliff Flowery, Todd Wilson. I mean, these are ADs and coaches around the state. And I remember Ty Wilson was the one that taught me how to draw up defenses. There's no reason, he don't know me, and he would keep me after practice as a young coach, 18, 19-year-old coach, and hey, draw me up a 4-3, draw me up a 3-3. And he's the one that kind of walked me through that. So those guys, and I'm still in contact with them on the daily. Coach Wilkinson actually texted me in the middle of this interview. And then as I matriculated to Tallahassee, Mike and Jared Hickman, I really learned a lot from them, a lot of football. I learned a lot about, just like I said, running a first-class, top-notch athletic program, what that looks like. Not that Central wasn't, but it's another level up there. It's a little different feel, and I wanted to bring that here when I took over as AD. And then when I came to Springstead, begrudgingly at first, right? But when I came to Springstead, once they learned that I was a good dude and I was loyal and a hard worker and everything. Coach Bill Veneta, who in my opinion should end up a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he will, but he should. He has the most wins in Hernando County history, at least, and tremendous mentor of mine. Taught me a lot about. I feel like at each stop I just learned so much. I learned so much about the game of football and the game of life, both when I was a student athlete and when I was a coach. And I'm really, really lucky to work with some amazing people. And Bill Veneta was one of them. And I actually worked under him as well as Coach Garifano, who took over for Coach Veneta. And then I've then become their boss, essentially. So it's definitely a weird dynamic later on in my career. But nevertheless, I still, even though I'm technically their quote unquote boss, I mean, I look at them as equals and they've taught me so much and still continue to teach me as we go throughout our days here. And then, of course, you got Bob Levia, as I mentioned. Bob Levia is in the National High School Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is one of the best wrestling coaches in the state of Florida ever. He spent a lot of time here at Springstead. I want to say it was over 30 years and won a lot of wrestling matches, but also changed the landscape of Hernando County athletics. I don't think a lot of people realize what he brought to Hernando County, and he saw what was missing. He saw what was lacking, and really, sometimes ruffled some feathers, but it's because he felt like he needed to ruffle some feathers because he needed action, and I was really grateful to learn under him as a coach. And then, like I said, even that short time, that 4 months before he retired, to learn under him as an AD. And then, he actually took me to my first FIAAA conference, which I know we're going to get to here in a little bit. But he stressed to me the importance of that and the networking and the camaraderie, but also the education and challenging yourself as well. And, you know, last and certainly not least, and I don't know if you want to call her a mentor, but my wife is tremendous. She's had I can't put into words the impact that she has on me. I'm gonna get emotional. I love that lady. She's you know, we started going out the second semester of my senior year. So she's literally been with me my entire coaching and AD journey. And you know, she's the mother of my two children, and you know, she's a K through 8 administrator herself. So just she's such a hard worker, and the amount of sacrifice that she's done, or she's had to give, I should say, over my coaching career and AD career is just remarkable. And you know, she's first person in her family to go to college and graduate college, and on top of that, she got her master's degree. So she did it all. You know, every dime of it was hers. She put herself through college, and you know, she's just a remarkable woman. And I'm very, very blessed to have her as my wife and the mother of my children. And I honestly, you know, I'm really not sure how where I would be if I didn't have her throughout my journey. Because like I said, she really has been there from the beginning, and she's had a major impact on me, you know, obviously personally, but professionally as well. And it's really, really nice to go home and talk to someone about education that actually knows about education and is dealing with some of the same issues that I'm dealing with. Yeah, obviously in a little different realm, different variables and whatnot, but you know, she can understand and she can give me perspective. And sometimes I don't want to hear that perspective, but most of the time she's right. But you know, she's really just an amazing person. And you know, like I said, I don't know if I'd call her a mentor, if you will, but I would be mistaken if I did not mention her.
Oh no, absolutely. Regular listeners, they hear me say this frequently, but it's true. I just love to hear the stories and the mentors. And boy, you covered a lot of ground, which is just great. Your parents, you know, the people that you coached under and end up coaching with, and now, as you said, you know, you're their boss. And then, of course, you know, the impact that your wife has had. You know, great stuff. Thanks so much for sharing that. That was a deep dive, but it was very, very cool. For our listeners, our guest today is Dustin Kupcik. He's a certified athletic administrator. He's the athletic director at Springstead High School in Spring Hill, Florida. We're going to take another quick break, but we're going to be back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards for all of the sports for every record, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to display your school's Hall of Fame. All their models come with a web link that allows people to enjoy the content from anywhere. And if you go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, their staff is going to get you set up. Let them help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, of your teams, both past and present, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to the good folks at Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an athletic director do your job better. Snap Store allows you to order custom gear for everybody in your program. Snap Manage, they'll show you how to set up an entire website for your athletic department. Snap Connect is their secure multilingual family engagement platform. And of course, Snap Raise is their fundraising platform. We've used it with great success. Our parents loved it. Our coaches loved it. And it works. They've helped schools just like yours raise over $700 million. And they even have an option where they will give you your money before you actually do your fundraiser. Does anybody else offer that? I don't think so. You can find it all at snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Dustin, we mentioned that you're a certified athletic administrator. That doesn't happen by accident. Share with our listeners, many of whom are younger ADs just starting their journey with both the state and the national organization. How did you first get involved with FIAAA, and then talk a little bit about your NIAAA experience?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Coach Levia was still on campus, and he said, "Listen, you have to go to this conference. Like, you can't miss this thing. If you're going to be the AD, you need to go to this. There's so many advantages to going to this conference." So of course, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm going." And he went. That was his last time going, and he went with me and just kind of introduced me to some people and kind of showed me some ropes and said, "Hey, this week you need to go to this. Don't go to that. Whatever. And I'm not going to lie, the first time you go to some of those courses and some of those classes, especially some of the law ones and whatnot, and your eyes get, big as saucers. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, what am I getting myself into? But that being said, I've gone ever since. And I haven't missed a single one. I think, obviously, except for the COVID year. And every time I go, one, I have a good time. Because let's be honest, there's plenty of conferences and PDs and all the other stuff that we have to do with education and coaching and stuff that they're not an enjoyable experience. So first and foremost, every time I go, I have a good time. But more importantly, I always bring something back that I'm going to put into practice almost immediately, or maybe the next school year. And I'm, prepping it over the summer type of thing. So it really, I would not know what the heck I was doing if I did not go to those conferences. I really wouldn't. There's really not a lot of training in our county for ADs, which is something I'm trying to change now, actually. But there's not a whole lot of there's not an instruction manual, or so it's going to these conferences and taking these LTI courses have really opened my eyes and really made me a better AD, which in turn has made our program stronger, our program safer, and our program more innovative. So I say innovative, I'm really just stealing other people's ideas, but what I'm trying to say. It's a must, and I tell that to all my fellow ADs in our county and in our FIAAA district, and it's just, to me, it's paramount. To me, if you're going to be an AD, you got to go to these things. They're really worth your while.
Yeah, you mentioned your district, your FIAAA district. You're the district director for, I think it's District 5.
Correct. This is my first year.
Okay. Share a little bit with our listeners. And again, I think most states are similar, but in Florida, talk a little bit about how you became a district director and kind of some of the things that you do. You talked about promoting professional development, but what does a district director do?
So Ron Allen was the District 5 director for a while, and then he moved to Kansas, and I think he stepped away a couple years prior, but then he nevertheless, he moved to Kansas, and then Mark Lee, who was the athletic director at Hernando at the time, he took over that slot. I believe Ron approached him about it, and he filled in, and now Mark has stepped away as well. He's actually got a great opportunity with the XFL. And is working with the team out in St. Louis. And he recommended me for the spot. It wasn't something I didn't really know too much about it. So it was, I guess I couldn't have sought it because I wasn't aware of it, and he brought it to my attention. And I wasn't too sure about it because as an AD, there's so much on my plate already, obviously, and a wife and 2 kids at home, a lot on my plate. So I thought long and hard about it, got some more information about it from Coach Childs up there, and I decided to go ahead and jump in. And I've been to one meeting so far. There's another one coming up, I believe, in 2 weeks on the 20th, I think it is. And so right now, what I'm doing primarily is making sure to communicate to all the ADs, high school, middle school, private, public, doesn't matter, charter, whatever, and making sure they know about all the different awards and scholarships that the FIAAA offers. And there's a bunch of them. and making sure that they're aware of them, making sure there's some really, really top-notch athletes, some top-notch coaches and ADs in our area, and I want to make sure they get recognized. I want to make sure they get the love that they deserve for the hard work they're putting in. And so making sure they're aware of those, and we get nominations up for that. Also, obviously, trying to strum up membership and really, I say that it sounds bad, but really, I just want you to go to the conference. I mean, like I feel like you go to the conference one time, you're gonna be like, oh, that's what you were talking about, Cup. I get it now. I got one AD last year, the Wikiwachi AD. He's a younger AD. I'm maybe 3 or 4 years in tops, and he hadn't been because he's a baseball coach, so it always kind of conflicts with timing wise, which I understand and respect. But I finally got him to come last year, and he was like, oh, now I see what you're saying. Yeah. So opened his eyes a little bit as well. So that's part of it. And then, when it comes to the meetings and actually meeting as a board and different committees and whatnot, we're just doing different things to help improve the FIAAA, to help improve communication, to help plan and prepare and coordinate and execute the state conference. And, trying to find new and innovative ways just to make the FIAAA bigger and better.
I mean, great commercial. I think I may have to use that as a soundbite for one of my headliners for the podcast. Great stuff. Dustin, if one of our listeners, whether they're in Florida or not, but if they wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, maybe find out how you do things there at Spring Hill, we're going to get into your best practices here in just a minute, but what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
I would say email. Honestly, email is probably the best, just because I'm never in my office. My office phone is almost worthless. So I would be email. My last name is Kupcik, Kupcik_D as in dog. And it's kind of long ending here, at hcsb.k12.fl.us. Yeah, I'm all ears. I'm all about helping out and doing what I can to make you and your program better. We got a lot of new ADs recently in our county, both middle school and high school, and my phone's been buzzing quite a bit. Now I'm kind of one of the veterans. I think other than Coach Sorrentino at Central, I think I'm the longest tenured. So I'm definitely, my phone and email have been blowing up a bit.
Well, again, we'll give out that email again at the end of the podcast. And for you NIAAA members, Dustin's information is also in the NIAAA portal, so you can look it up there. But let's take another quick break. We're going to be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to thank Gipper for their support of the podcast. Go to Gipper.com, see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. These days, it's about marketing and promoting your teams, your coaches, your kids, and your program. And Gipper will help you create custom branded content for your program's social media channels. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com. Huddle is how the world sees sports. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle's got the tools to help your teams, your coaches, and your kids play better, and Huddle's going to provide you with a professional grade solution to the challenges you face every day. At Huddle, we believe in sports, and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school.
I tell you that Gipper is really, really a cool program, man. You heard me say my parents own a printing and marketing company, and I think my mom being a professional graphic artist, I kind of just have it in my blood, and that is a fun little program, super easy. You do not have to be tech savvy at all, and you get some really, really polished, professional looking stuff that I feel like it really kind of sets us apart. from other schools in the area, just because we look like a college almost with some of the graphics that we utilize to help market our students and our programs. Really, really. And the other thing that's really cool about Gipper, I'm running a commercial for them now, but they listen to you, man. There are very few companies that actually listen to you and fix it or add it or delete it. Like there was something, I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was tabbing it over with like the arrow key. I said, can't we just, I hate having to mess around and with the mouse and try to get it just right. Can't I just tab it over? Why can't I just tab it over? Within 3 weeks that I could tab it over. I was like, that's amazing. Thank you. So it's cool that they listen to the customer.
Yeah, and I've found the same thing to be true with the little bit of usage that I use Gipper for. It's fantastic, but I've talked to ADs just like you that rave about it for the things it's allowed them to do to help promote their program. Speaking of programs, we always like to share best practices. I think it's why we're on. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you've done at Spring Hill, maybe initiatives that you created or things that you've kept going that you are particularly proud of that you would call best practices?
It's a good question, man. One of the things that we actually have one tonight, one of the things that I really take pride in, and one of the things I really feel has opened us up to the community and to the parents and just build a better relationship, is we have a mandatory parent meeting for each season. So fall, winter, spring. And if your child is going to be participating in it or trying out in any of those sports for that particular season, you need to come to that event. And it is just our opportunity to reach out a hand, to put a face to a name, to make sure you actually know what paperwork is needed, where you're going, what the expectations are of a student athlete at Springstead, of a fan or a parent of a student athlete at Springstead, some of the county and state requirements, just different things like that, some of the boring stuff, but important stuff nevertheless. And that way everyone is on the same page. And when they get a phone call or an email from Coach Kup, they know who Coach Kup is and what Coach Kup is all about. It's not just some mythical person that has AD attached to their name, So I really, really enjoy those. And I really feel like they've made a difference in our athletic program, being able to do that. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And we continue to evolve and grow and make it better as the years have gone. Something else that I think is really cool, it seems kind of silly and menial, but our coaches cover each other's gates. We don't pay gate workers. We all cover each other's gates. Everyone is kind of voluntold, if you will, to cover 3 gates. And it seems kind of like, what's the big deal about that, Kup? But we have each other's backs. The coaches are here for each other, and that's just a small piece of it. And I think if you were to talk to any of my coaches, they would tell you that it's a family-like atmosphere here. We enjoy being around each other, even if it's not our program. And we don't mind sharing athletes, and we don't mind sharing secrets and tips, and we're here to support each other. And I really think, I hear some horror stories from other ADs and other coaches about how they divvy up, those different responsibilities and how they struggle to share athletes and all this type of stuff. And I don't know, I just feel like we have each other's back, and it's kind of a very, easy thing to say, but like I said, I would think if you talk to any of my coaches, they would say the same thing. And that's a big deal to me. And the other thing that I think has been really, really powerful has just been our website and our social media platforms. I know everyone's kind of got them, but are you using them correctly? Are you doing it the right way? Are you making it look sharp? Are you doing it in a timely fashion or enough? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I can't tell you how many coaches I've interviewed have commented on that.
one of my questions is, why are you here? Why are you interested in Springstead? Why did you click apply, right? And they say, well, I went on your social media, I went on your website. You can tell you care. You can tell it's sharp and professional. You can tell you keep it up to date. You have a good following, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it makes the program look sharp. Obviously, I think it's a way to communicate with the masses, with your students, with your athletes, with your fans, with your parents, with community members and business partners. And it's kind of the digital front porch or the digital front page of your athletic program. And that was something that was lacking when I first took over. We had no social media whatsoever. We did not have an athletic website, and communication was an issue. And that was something that we brought on early and have I wouldn't say perfected, but that we have gotten better and better at as the years have gone on. So those are some things I would say. There's some other cool things, small things that we do, like Athlete of the Month, which has become kind of a big deal. We do a male and female Athlete of the Month, and we do a big snippet on the website and pictures. They get a Glory Days gift card, and they vote on it on the website and everything. And it's a big deal. The kids get excited. People are always asking me about it, and we've got thousands of votes on these things, and they like that. And something that I wanted to share, and I wanted to shout her out before I got off of this, because she's tremendous. Our cheer coach, Shannon Herod, she does a lot of things really well. But one thing she started doing this year that was really, really cool, it was not my idea, so I don't want to take credit for it, but I would call it a best practice because the impact that it's had has been tremendous. She basically split up her cheer squad. She does sideline cheer and comp cheer. She split up her cheer squad into different subgroups, if you will, different teams, sub-teams, and they're assigned to different events and games throughout the year. Everyone goes to football games. Everyone knows cheerleaders go to football games. A lot of cheerleaders go to basketball games. We're not talking about that. We had a cheer team show up at a swim meet. We had a cheer team show up at a cross-country meet. We had a cheer team at a soccer game. We had a cheer team at open house, and she has just really driven into the girls' heads, like, you're not just showing up on Friday nights. You're here to increase the school spirit, to increase the school recognition. You're here to build camaraderie and togetherness and support. And yes, you get some weird looks. You show up on the pool deck or you show up at a soccer game. Sometimes those are awful quiet, and you get some sideways glares. But it really has had a tremendous impact, and it's just really cool. And she's full of great ideas. She does a great job. She's definitely one of our best coaches, probably one of the best coaches in the area across all sports, in my opinion. But that's something that was new this year that I thought was really, really cool, and I hope she continues to do.
Yeah, I can echo that. If you have a good cheer coach, that can really be a shot in the arm for your entire athletic program, and such a great idea to bring recognition and appreciation to some of those other sports.
Right.
I also used the seasonal parent meetings, which everything you said is true. It just raises that level of professionalism and I think a feeling of service to the parents of those kids.
Agreed.
And I love your idea about having the head coaches help, manage the gate for the other teams. Just an all hands on deck. We've got your back philosophy. Great stuff. Listeners, you got a great resource here. So we'll give out his email address one more time before the end of the podcast. But we're visiting today with Dustin Kupcik, Coach Kup. He's from Spring Hill High School, and that's in Springstead, Florida. Let's take another quick break, but we'll be back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Final Forms for their support of the podcast. Final Forms is the industry leader in forms and registration, but they are so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility. They've got reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can help your coaches with things like attendance and communication with their teams. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. It's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake and get started with Final Forms. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Dustin, one of the questions that we've recently started asking our ADs, and I really like it. I stole it from another podcast. You've been doing this now for a while, coaching since you were 19. What are some things that you have learned from the student athletes in your time as a coach or as an athletic director? Anything you can share?
I like that question, man. A lot. I feel like I learn something new every day from these jokers. But no, it's first and foremost, I would say, I would basically say that it's not a one size fits all type of thing, right? Coaching and just athletics in general is not a one size fit all type of thing. And as much as you want to treat everyone the same, you can't. There's so many different variables. There's so many different nuances and so many different circumstances, especially in this day and age, that are involved in a student athlete's life, both on campus and off campus. And, fair isn't always equal. Fair isn't always equal. And sometimes that's hard to see. And sometimes, sometimes it takes some time to learn what is best for that child, what is best for that student athlete. I definitely know there's been times in my career where I've had to. I remember one kid specifically. It was a defensive lineman that we needed to play offensive line, basically, and I could not get through to this kid, no matter what approach I tried. And I just flat out asked him. I said, "How do you want to be coached? What is going to motivate you? What is going to get you to where you need to be?" Because I was at a loss, and I feel like the art of, and this, I've learned this from kids, is that I feel like part of the art of coaching is learning what buttons to press with which kids, because you can yell and scream and holler at some kids, and that's going to get them motivated, and that's going to get their ears to perk up, and they're going to do what you need them to do. You do that to some kids, and they're going to curl up in a ball and shut down. And it's your job as a coach to learn your roster and to learn your student athletes. And not that you're going to completely overhaul who you are as a coach and change everything you do, but you have to learn how to reach your student athletes and motivate them best. And that's going to change from year to year. Your roster changes from year to year, and the dynamic changes from year to year. So, I think that's one thing for sure that I've learned. I've also learned that kids, whether they say it or not, they crave structure, and they need it. They thrive in it, actually, for the most part. And it kills me when you hear some of these kids, "Oh, I'm going to take this year off, or I'm going to take this season off to focus on this or focus on that." 90% of the time, it goes the opposite direction, because there's no more accountability, there's no more structure, there's no more people counting on them as a coach or a teammate, and it's a free for all now, And I really think that's something that's underrated. I think structure and accountability is underrated. I really think they need it and they crave it, even though they say they don't, but they do. I've also learned, this was a tough lesson. I've learned this a couple years into coaching, that you can't save them all. You can't save them all. You want to see every kid excel and succeed and be at their very best. But as a coach and as an athletic director, at some point when they are
when they are being insubordinate and they are bringing the others down, they're bringing teammates down, they're bringing the program down time after time after time. Sometimes you have to cut your losses there, and it sucks. It hurts because you want that kid to succeed, but ultimately, if they're not gonna do what they need to do and meet your expectations and their teammates' expectations, then why are they around? Why are they there? And because they're representing their teammates, they're representing you, and they're representing their school. And if they're not going to do that in a good light, then unfortunately, we're going to have to cut ties. And that's one of the worst. I hate doing that. I hate doing it as a coach. I hate doing it as an AD. And but sometimes it's necessary. And that's a lesson that I find myself, talking to other coaches, because they'll move mountains and excuse this and it's just like, guys, at some point in time, they have to buy in. They have to listen. They have to meet the expectations. And if they're not, then, unfortunately, we have to cut ties with them. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. And obviously that's a last ditch thing we do, but you can't save them all. And then, the last thing I would say is that we got to make it fun. We got to make it fun. It's something for the kids, but also for us. I think sometimes the adults ruin it. I think sometimes the adults take it too seriously and they burn kids out. And sometimes kids are afraid to speak up. Sometimes they're not very good at self-advocating, and I think if it's not fun, it is a game. Ultimately, it's a game. We're talking about sports here. We're talking about sports, and it's a game. It should be fun. Is it going to be hard? Are there going to be tough times? Is there going to be adversity? Absolutely, which is what makes sports great. But there needs to be some fun mixed in. There needs to be some positivity mixed in there. And I think that's a really, really important factor. And that's something that definitely, from a coaching perspective, has shifted a bit as I've gotten older. That, I need to make sure I'm sprinkling in some more positive. I need to make sure I've got the fun in there as well. And it's not always grind. One of the small example, when we have our split squad game in the spring, okay, we do red and white game. We allow the kids to do touchdown celebrations and sack celebrations just for that one night. Because why not? It's fun. They see it all the time on Sundays and Monday nights. Let them have a little fun. There's been some really creative stuff, but we tell the officials, hey, just let it slide tonight. Let it slide tonight. Let them get it out of their system, type of thing. But that's just something small and silly. But the kids they look for it and look forward to it and enjoy it, and it just helps keep it light and bring some of that fun and positivity to it.
Well, you covered I think all ends of the spectrum on that, but
Yeah.
It's all very cool stuff. The celebrations and making it fun, and you hit on a very cool point. Fun for the kids, but also fun for us.
Yes.
Again, you got to enjoy what you're doing. The tough factor of helping kids understand that, hey, it's a team, and you're choosing to be a part of a team, or
Yep.
you're choosing not to be by your behavior.
100%.
And helping them, yes, but it is about the team. And again, the story you talked about, learning how to coach kids, I had the exact same experience as a football coach. We had a quarterback, great kid. I coached him like I was coached. I mean, I was in his face. I was, and he thrived on that. He loved it. And
Right.
he graduated, went off to college, and the kid that took his place was probably a better athlete. And the first time I tried to coach him like that in summer, he just wilted. And it took me a couple of weeks to figure out, I've got to coach him calmer, and this is what I want you to do. And it was tough, but it helped him, and it made me a better coach too. Great stuff.
I feel like there's some kids that if you don't get in their face, they don't think you're serious, So it's like, you gotta
you got to juggle it. You got to find that balance. You got to figure out what works best for that individual athlete, you know? So it's a challenge. It's part of the challenge.
Yeah, it's good coaches figure it out, and it's sometimes it's tough on the coach. But Dustin, this has been so cool, getting to know you, spending some time with you. But we're not done yet. We always finish up with the athletic director toolbox. So we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment, and when we come back, we're going to find out what Coach Cup, Dustin Kupcik, is going to put in his new athletic director toolbox. We'll be right back. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for teachers, for coaches, for parents, and for our student athletes. And the information that comes back, it'll be the same for you, is almost always positive, and it helps offset that squeaky wheel kid or squeaky wheel parent that you typically hear from that really only comprise about 2% of your total group. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack allows that 98% to share how they feel about your program, and that becomes a tremendously valuable tool. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or especially your student athletes, go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys to get started. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting with Dustin Kupcik from Spring Hill High School in Florida.
Springstead High School. Springstead High School.
Springstead High School. Springstead High School in Spring Hill. Dustin, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but right now I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Dustin Kupcik's athletic director toolbox?
All right, I'm going to give you 3 and a bonus, but the bonus will be real quick. So the first one I would say is timely, open and honest communication with all stakeholders. Whatever that looks like to you, for us, we have our parent meetings, as I mentioned. We're huge on social media with the website. We have robocalls, we have robotexts. All of our coaches have some type of communicating platform or Mind or Band or whatever, Team Snap, whatever the heck they want to use. But I know as a coach, it was extremely frustrating kind of when I got caught unaware of something, or I got told late. So now I'm in a panic that I got to get this roster in, or I got to get this check in, or I got to get whatever. So it's really, really important for me. Also, as a parent, I told you, I got 2 boys, Cooper and Parker, 11-year-old, 7-year-old. I'm a parent now, of an athlete, and when I don't know something, it's irritating. I get frustrated. I'm lost. I may show up late. I may go to the wrong field. It's really, really important that you're communicating with all your stakeholders, fans, community, parents, teachers on campus, student athletes, etc. So whatever that looks like to you in your community and on your campus, make sure that communication piece is there. I can't survive without my cell phone. I'm going to be another bonus one there, but like my entire job is on my cell phone. So obviously you got to have that smartphone for that communication piece. The second thing I would say is to be a servant leader. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but I really, really think that's extremely important. I think you have to be willing to do any and everything, do the grunt work, and that makes a large impact on your stakeholders. Everyone I just mentioned, the community, the parents, the fans, the student athletes, the teachers and admin on campus, the parents, your coaches. When your coach sees you mopping the floor or picking up trash or pulling weeds or painting a shed or something, I feel like that just makes a greater impact, and it becomes contagious. Other people realize, well, if he's picking up trash, I probably should be picking up trash.
or, clearly he cares about our facilities, or he cares about this, or he cares about that. I need to care about that. And he takes pride in this. I should probably take pride in that. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal. And there's times to delegate, and there's times to you know, to move things and shove things on other people. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately, you need to be that servant leader, and be there for your coaches and for your student athletes and for your community. And then the last one is, to me, something that's really, really impactful, and I got it from my wife, and that is writing thank you notes. I think that is something that it means a lot to people, because it shows, as busy as we are as ADs, because we are super duper busy, like pulling my hair out busy, that you spent 3, 4, 5 minutes to pull that out, actually write physically with a pen, and say 3, 4 sentences, and sign your name. And my parents made me a little thank you notes, of course, Springstead Athletics on them and everything. And I think they're just super impactful, because people know that you appreciate them. You appreciate the work that they do, the extra effort they gave, whatever it may be. I think the power of thank you, even just saying thank you, though obviously you want to go the extra mile writing it. But I just remember working, my first job was at Walgreens, and there was one manager that always said thank you, and there was another manager that never said thank you. And I would do anything for that other manager, because he always said thank you. He didn't give me a raise. He didn't give me better hours. No, he just said thank you when I completed a task, or went above and beyond. The other guy was just expected, didn't, just whatever, you're a 16-year-old kid. So I always remember that. And I want people to know that I appreciate the efforts in their work. I've even had a grown man in tears one time, gave him a thank you note. So it can be pretty powerful. And the bonus one, I've already said it, go to the FIAAA conference. Like, there's your toolbox right there. I know I already said it, but I can't tell you, I would not know what I was doing as an AD if I didn't go to those courses, if I didn't go to those conferences. They've really, really helped me, help mold me, and help educate me, and kind of give me that knowledge base that I just flat out didn't have. And I didn't really, because Coach Levi had retired. I mean, yes, I called him like once a week the first 6 to 8 months I was working, but there was just a lot of things that I didn't know. There were some things that we weren't doing that we should have been doing. And that conference is where it's at. If you're a first-time AD, a young, a couple of years in AD, you got to go to that conference. You're going to get so much information, and something you can take back, and improve yourself and improve your athletic program.
Boy, all those tools are fantastic. And again, the thank you notes, I can hold up, my own little stationery. I would do that with my coaches or parents or kids. I'd mail a thank you note to a kid, and maybe a week later, the parent would run into me at traffic pickup or something, and just say, gosh, thank you so much for, sending that note to my kid. It meant a lot. The kid, seldom says that anything, because they're embarrassed.
Right.
Gosh, the AD wrote me a thank you letter. No, such a powerful, but yet such an easy thing to do.
Yes.
Dustin, thanks so much for sharing with us today. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Email is definitely the best way. I check it too much. It's my last name, which is KUP as in pineapple, CIK _D as in dog, at HCSB as in boy, .K12.FL.US.
And again, for our NIAAA members, that information's on the NIAAA portal. Dustin, thanks again for sharing with us. All the best in the coming 2023 seasons. And, let's continue to stay in touch. Good luck to all the Springstead High School teams.
Sounds good. Thank you again for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It was great. Hopefully I didn't talk your ear off too much, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I think this episode, I don't want to denigrate the rest of them, but all we try to do is let ADs share their story and also share some best practices. You certainly did that today. For listeners, we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for listening. We want to thank our podcast partners, We Coach, and the global community of women in high school sports, as well as our sponsors. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.